Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 4 of Beast TV. I've got a special guest here, a fellow Beast, and there'll be a fun story about that. Mr. Travis Lachner from the Beast Node. Welcome, my friend.
Ryan, what's good, brother?
Oh, great to have you here. And it'll be fun to let the audience hear kind of how we met and what you've got going on. Travis is a great guy. I'm going to give him a quick introduction for anybody that's in there. If you did jump in on this unannounced live, let us know in the comments. But to introduce Travis Lachner, he is a former college hockey player, super producer, creative director, podcast host, business streamer, helping brands, coaches, and speakers erupt with authority via media-based marketing systems. You can connect with Travis on LinkedIn. That's the only place he is live. Travis's package that he puts together is, and skill stack as he calls it, is brand marketing, digital marketing, live video production, audio podcast production, and music production. Travis, did I miss anything, my friend?
That's about it. Ask me again in a few months. We'll see what's added to the list. But no, that's brilliant, man. Appreciates the awesome intro.
You bet, my friend. Well, thanks for coming out today. I know we had a little chat yesterday. I appreciate the opportunity to be on the 𝗥𝘆𝗔𝗦𝗧 show that you host for people. Kind of tell us maybe a little bit about your background and then how this new business has all evolved in 2020. How that all came to be.
Yeah, my life has been on the macro level continuously evolving, shifting lanes, shifting trajectories. We've connected because of hockey. And that was a huge piece of my life. That's not super visible from where I'm at now, but it is deeply embedded into my personality. I see I dropped my hockey nickname here for you in this setup. All the guys used to call me Lock. It's something that's been embedded for me from the start, is the work ethics from hockey, athletics, competition in general. And then from there, kind of rode that as far as I could to end of college hockey was about as far as I made it. Same as you. And realized that wasn't happening, and was pursuing my alter ego was always like as an artist, as a music producer, in that realm. So gave that a true shot and discovered it's very difficult to truly monetize and make that career path financially feasible. It truly is just a whole nother world. So finally just went into 9-to-5 life, business, professional culture. And it was one of those things that I didn't really know what my lane was going to be. I've never had this big grandiose plan since the start. It's been continuously evolving. So the biggest catalyst that really sent me on the trajectory today was discovering branding, business-based branding, and being able to do that for not only individuals, but now for companies as well. That was a huge piece for me. I started my first company and built it around a brand. And that just showed me it showed me the light on what you could do with building a community and doing something online that is financially feasible. So that was a big piece from my realm of discovering branding for businesses. And in recent years, have just been busy as a creative director in agencies. So the job really there is to bring on the client, discover their target audience, and then direct and manage and create all of the content that can connect that audience to that brand. So that's what I've kind of been wired to look for these last few years, is what is the most effective way we can connect the audience with this brand. And very often content and media has been a huge piece of that conversation. So that's what really has shown me the light and kind of calibrated my lenses for this year. And this year, everything on the creative director side hit pause. So earlier in around March or so, discovered events, virtual events and live streaming that all had to be done digital because everything we were planning in person was no longer happening. It was literally
Right.
canceled. So it was a big win for me to start discovering new technologies, softwares, gears, platform, to find new ways to start connecting those dots.
Right.
And that's where I've been really heavily investing this year, is in maximizing and streamlining that whole process, from everything that happens before the show or before the stream to everything that happens during the stream. And now really the secret sauce is in the post-production and repurposing all the stuff
Right.
that comes after. So those pieces have been a really big piece for me, setting the trajectory here this year.
Phenomenal. And just as having connected with you now, becoming a friend and definitely an admirer of your business acumen, but then how to pivot and
Yep.
maximize with the change. And I think that you might agree that the athletic career beforehand and then the ability to blend, the game of hockey changes so fast that it almost seems like you're wired that way as you find what it is that you're great at. And you have found that. And it is really, really great not only to observe your media package, your live streams, but then to participate in it, you definitely have it down to a science. So anybody that's listening, that's even thinking about teaming up with the Beast Node, you would be well served to do so. So my friend, absolutely outstanding to be a part of your process.
Thanks so much, man. No, it's been an insane year, but so much gratitude, so much growth here. It was just really a creative way I think people can tap into existing skill sets or existing stuff they do have. Like a lot of this stuff that I didn't think I was using, like from learning music and audio engineering and gear and mics, like everything is a all of this stuff I had around me, didn't think it was really valuable until it was set in the right context. So I'd encourage anybody that is exploring pivot points or ways to adapt, start inward, look at what skills you already do have, what passions you do have and you already know about, and how can you shift the lens or extrapolate that in a more creative way, in a more useful way, or to a new audience. Sometimes you can do the exact same thing you've been doing, but for a new audience. I'm seeing that with like keynote speakers and public speakers that are really struggling with, there's no event to go speak at and
Right.
share their high ticket program or anything like that with. So that's an area that I'm starting to recognize, like they need some help, and they for sure are already good on camera if they're a good speaker. They understand audience engagement. So that's what I'm starting to realize, is now that I do have this skill set, is how can I use this in a more useful or creative way to help others. Is just a simple, sometimes all it takes is just a little tiny little flip for everything to start clicking.
Absolutely, well said. And speaking of which, we actually have a couple guys that jumped in on the conversation. Mark Bentkover is an individual who has a lot of those same backgrounds that you were discussing with music production and whatnot. And we've been discussing different things, doing some collaboration. So great to see you here, Mark. And that is definitely, Mark, if you're not following
Oh
Locke
yeah.
or our other resident beast, let's get him, let's get you guys connected. As also we have Jeff Clark from Space Force, another Denver brother. So good to have him here as well. Thanks for
Oh,
coming in, guys.
nice.
Yeah, really,
Yeah,
really, really great.
I was just hunting him down real quick.
Yeah, yeah, great,
Very
great
cool.
folks to have on there. Yeah, Space Force,
Awesome,
really,
guys.
really neat. So one of the things that and you already brought it up, like you're that I really want to highlight about you is you have a big heart, and you focus and center a lot of things around gratitude, the language that you use. I mean, you're a natural leader, and you might you're not somebody that might be beating your chest with that, but that's my observation, and I really appreciate that about you. You really want to help folks. So not only just putting that on the table, but then also maybe spawning some more conversation. Like, what if you aren't somebody who is tech savvy or have those tools that you had that you linked together, how could somebody that has the desire and sees that there's an opportunity in today's market maybe give you a call, connect with you, and find out how they could leverage maybe your skill sets to amplify what they want to bring to the market?
Yeah, so there's two key pieces to this equation, very similar to what I was just mentioning in like the creative director role of understanding a brand's target audience. When it comes to us as an individual, it's a very similar formula. And where I encourage everybody to start is getting focused on who you want to serve. A lot of people get started on what they're going to do. But that's obviously that's critical. Obviously, at the end of the day, that's what your product is going to be. But as far as order of operations, who you serve is going to be very critical. And then if you have the ability to take that even one step further and understand why you're serving them, have a story, a deep something that resonates. I kind of think of it as like a magnet. Simon Sinek refers to it often in his book Start With Why. It's this magnetic pull that like is always kind of keeping you going forward. Whereas if you're just shooting for revenue goals and like, I'm gonna make $500,000 this year. Like, you made 550K this year. Good job. Now you lose a lot of that pool. So starting with who you serve and why you are serving them is always the starting point. And then you can go inward and start focusing on, okay, how can I start connecting the dots here? And this is where getting more into like the nitty gritty and strategy and process and coaching of it all is finding your communication style and finding your content style. That's the other big piece that a lot of people miss is they try to wear somebody else's outfit and then they wonder why like it's doesn't feel right on them, because they were trying to duplicate a video formula from Gary Vee speaking over the last 10 years at conferences. And then they're like, well, why don't my videos look like that? They're
Right.
like, well, because you're not Gary Vee speaking at conferences the last 10
Right.
years. So
Right.
that piece is huge to figure out. And sometimes it's as simple as testing the waters in different formats. That's what I have really discovered is a keystone in this process is making sure that you are communicating or engaging in a format or medium that resonates with you. It's like in your sweet spot. So that's a big piece that I discovered that's kind of personality based, kind of skill based. But the overarching answers, there's something out there for you. It might not be live streaming, or it might not be an official fancy Joe Rogan podcast, but maybe TikTok stories or reels where you just have an authentic selfie style video every day is going to be your jam that resonates with you and your audience and everything. So it becomes more of a experimental testing the waters, see what works, see what doesn't work, rather than I'm just gonna learn this, go through this course, and then I'm good to go. It's rarely ever like that. It's taken me years and years and years to zero in on my content style, and I'm still not even there, like
Right.
100%. So I know there's brilliant guys out here on LinkedIn and others that all do this like super edited, like almost like entertainment style videos where it's just them, the camera, and the lights like in a room.
Right.
And I've tried that in so many different ways, so many times, and it just doesn't resonate with me. So the secret sauce for me is really finding what works for you as an individual, test the waters, try everything, and there, you'll know what resonates,
Nice.
either from ease of jumping into it or from audience feedback. So when you get those two aligned, it's just slowly leveling up one at a time. There's never going to be a perfect podcast, a perfect stream, a perfect insert whatever medium here.
Right. Right.
So give up on the perfectionist idea, because that's what held me back for so long, and just start posting and experimenting. There's so much saturated content out there. Like, it's never going to be as fearful as you are in your head of like, oh, everybody's going to think I'm an awful person or a crappy leader now. Nobody thinks like that. Nobody cares. You'll more likely will find supporters that are struggling with the same things you are, and then
Right.
they're with you on that journey. So that's a big piece for me, is just bring that pedestal down. Anything you're watching, they've just done it 100 more times than you, or 300 more times than you. Just try it, get it going, test the waters, see what works.
Nicely said. There's so much wisdom and knowledge that you just dropped in there on us, and it's totally appreciated. I think one of the things that, so touching on your, that finding that equilibrium point between enjoyment and ease and effectivity, right? Something that you're getting some data back on that
Yeah.
actually is working for the people that you serve. And systematically, like you said, with the order of operations, if you know who you serve, and then one step back from that, maybe we call it the spiritual vision, or your high level, what it is that you're out there to do. Starting with those things, it really aligns everything downstream. And I really appreciate how you use the magnet analogy. It really
Yeah.
to pull everything through there and align it. I also totally appreciate what you said about, and I think this is something that's learned from athletics, where you keep showing up, you keep trying new things. And it doesn't mean bounce from one thing to another, which is, we've heard the term entrepreneurial ADHD or ADD, where you go after shiny object syndrome, but it doesn't
Guilty.
mean, yeah,
I'm not immune to that at all.
100%.
I'm not.
Yeah. We can, and I think there's that, because that's your driving forces. You're trying to find what works, and you need that. At the same time, have the patience and grace to give yourself the room to find what actually works, and then don't quit. Keep moving forward. And I really appreciate that you brought that up. That it's taken years to kind of find the sweet spot, and it's still not perfect. I mean, that's leadership 101. Is you have to accept that it's not going to be perfect, and check the ego at the door.
Yeah.
And, there is zero ego in what you bring to the table, my friend. It is appreciated, and it's authentic, and you can tell.
Appreciate that, man. It's been such an adventure, so it's always interesting to hear and see the outside perspective, because internally it's okay, organized chaos week to week.
100%. Absolutely. Especially in a year like this. I mean, that is the funny thing. And I've really resonated with some of the people that we're connected with that will sometimes go behind the scenes or show you some of the imperfections that I can relate to as running large companies, running large teams as a leader. You always have to make sure that when you address a team or interactions, you have to center yourself, just like you would play in a game for hockey. You can't go out there, or if you get to the point where you might lose emotional control or have a human moment, recalibrate. Sometimes they put us in the penalty box for a few minutes and then we come back out. But when you're interacting with people, and then now in this new digital era that we're in, going live, which has more opportunities to show your human side, which the irony is that's what people connect with. But some of the people that we are associated with, that we learn from and interact with here on LinkedIn, have shown us some of the things behind the scenes. And what it really does is it shows you that they're just humans too, that there is a process to everything that's happening, whether they have a large team that's running things operationally for them, and they are now the performers or the people that are spreading the message. And to me, when you get to go behind the scenes like that, and you realize that things aren't perfect, but that's what it takes to get a product, to get a message out to the world. It really, that's that magnet that draws me to people like that. Does that make sense? They're not worried about perfect. They end up with a really nice product or message, but it's not overly polished. And I think that's what the world right now is not identifying with the, some people call it fake news, but there's no faith in that polished media anymore. And I think that's where people resonate with conversations like this. Does that make sense?
100%. No, I've seen it in not only in like the research and the psychology that I look into for this, but in firsthand experience. personal experience. I know on the production quality spectrum, I've started thinking of content in this binary fashion rather than it being a spectrum that you're always getting a little bit better, want to produce and imitate. Thinking of it binary actually is far more effective.
Write that down.
And there's one end of the spectrum where it's hyper casual. I don't know the official phrase I'm going to give it, but it's what we were just talking about, the selfie style. Like you're in my room, you're getting the details, you're getting the true authentic human. And then if you are going the direction and you're gonna invest in production and production quality, go all in. Make sure you're having somebody that knows what they're doing, understands audio quality is actually way more important to figure out than video quality. A lot of people miss that, go for like the red herring of thinking they need some Canon HD cam, like to be good on video. And honestly, as long as people can hear what you're saying, I've discovered they don't care like what your camera quality is. I'm still on a Logitech webcam from Amazon, and like people's minds are blown, but I think it's because of the experience and the quality of blending that all together. So there's this binary decision that I've discovered. If you're gonna be jumping into content, just start on that other end and see how the authentic stuff does. Because a lot of people get stuck in this middle ground where they're trying to make it a good fancy production, and then they got these fancy lights and everything, but it just becomes more work than if they just turned on that video, turned on their phone and recorded it in 45 seconds and posted it. Now they've wasted 45 minutes recording, taking it off the SD card, uploading it to their computer, editing it and all this stuff. And then you just end up in this kind of middle ground of like, I tried to make an edited, well-produced video, but you just get lost in the mix. And that's what you see a lot of these, like 90% of the LinkedIn videos I see are almost virtually the same, in the perfect square, little progress bar, subtitles, whatever. And I think if you're going to invest in going that route on the production side, just make it something that's truly sensational and stands out in a creative way. So that's what I've started to think of in that realm, is going all in one way or the other. And then people like the authenticity when it does pop up. That was something I used to be very fearful of running Zoom. I used to put my events in Zoom rooms because I didn't want them to be publicly failing. And I actually had people from the audience in the community that have mentioned, no, I love it when things go off the rails. Like, it's entertaining.
Yeah.
It's hilarious when the streams get messed up and guests are like trying to hop in and out, can't see they're frozen on camera. And like, there's people that actually not only like that, there's a few people that have said they want that. They're like, I was just here waiting for a train wreck to happen. So eventually, like once we're all familiar with the technology and it's like as simple as setting up a text or uploading a video, those mistakes and those moments will be less and will be more and more sensitive to them. But people don't care. People really don't care, man. It's always worse in your head. Always.
Yeah, it's the human connection. And that's where those of us that have done the in-person for so long, there was a learning curve. And then you had this opinion that it had to be perfect. And then I think if you embrace, like you're talking about, where everybody's actually experiencing this right now, it takes the pressure off. We didn't discuss yet the emotional drain that you can put into overthinking things or trying to make them perfect. I really like it, the simplicity, the brilliance of thinking about it binary, keeping it very casual, like you said, or when it's appropriate, going all in, and or teaming with somebody like yourself who that's what you specialize in, and you are all in. I think that's one of the brilliant things about what you bring to the table is, if somebody wants to make that investment and go all in, they don't have to try to figure all that out themselves, because that can be draining just thinking about that for an entrepreneur or somebody that has a message or an existing business that wants to go and knows that they need to take it online. They know they need to take it to the digital world and format, but they're like, some people just don't know where to start, but they have a brilliant service and product. They can come see you.
That's typically the best type of people for this situation. Anybody that has an existing product, existing program, but has lost their messaging, their platform. If they were a public speaker or in any type of situation, most of our marketing, but all of our marketing plans and marketing budgets got thrown through the ringer this year. So there's lots of people needing, not only wanting to pursue something like this, it's needed for them as an individual. I know for me, the connection I've got this year through the community and discovering this is surreal, far beyond any of the business or service-based benefits that I could get from this. Just having that connection and community with people through these mediums and through this media has just been surreal, because it really is a game changer. If people truly understood like the being on the other end of it, and maybe it'll get less valuable over time, but the psychology of having your own show or your own event or something that you can run or you can invite people to is way different than just asking somebody to chat for a 15-minute virtual coffee, or can we have a Zoom call recorded? And even if it was the exact same conversation in both of those rooms, when it's branded and packaged into your own show and you're promoting it right and you're sharing all the micro content, it becomes this machine, in a way, this kind of media authority, relationship, connection machine that you turn on and you're like, whoa, what was going on here? And I didn't discover that until this year. I'd always kind of heard that, and you've seen it, obviously. Like, we look up to people like Lewis Howes or anybody that has their own podcast, their own show, just naturally. And then now I've had the opportunity to connect with Lewis Howes. After all of this, I've been reaching out to him for years. He does, and finally, once I have my own show, the Beast Node, he is present. There's a relevant anchor point for that conversation. And I think a lot of people miss the invisible value that kind of comes when you lean into that. And it doesn't have to be like a superstar, like look at me type of thing. Like, a lot of times there are cases where that makes sense. Probably over half the time it makes sense to build it as the Ryan McMullen show or the Jordan Parrish show or whatever it ends up being, because it fits. But it doesn't have to be that. It doesn't, even if you're not that type of person. I'm not that type of person. I'm not like a spotlight on me type of guy. But you can develop shows and experiences that are designed to highlight others or highlight activities or highlight the community. So there's always an angle, there's always an approach. It's just a matter about finding what works for you specifically is really the tricky piece.
No, way to wrap that all together. I think that I think you really hit it. And what we've chatted about before, I know we've and this is kind of an ongoing discussion. You talk about the psychology, and I really enjoy the way you speak and you think. So exploring that for 1 second, I was fascinated by why podcasts. Let's rewind the clock about 5-6 years. And podcasts have been around for a little bit, probably longer than even you start to clue into, because things usually have a little bit deeper roots and before they become
early adopters.
like, okay,
we're in on that early.
Here's something that keeps coming up, podcasts. And I had a manager that I had been working late from the day shift up in the Arctic, and he was on the night shift, and he was it was about 10 p.m. at night. And he was getting ready to go out across the field. There's 12 production facilities, 64 drill sites up in the Arctic, thousands of miles of pipe. It's a lot of equipment up there that people aren't quite aware of. So he had a long drive ahead of him, a few hours. And he said, I'm going to upload some podcasts. And I said, well, what is that? So fast forward a little bit of time, and I realized that they were non-polished, authentic conversations where I was drawn because I got to see what people really thought. And it wasn't scripted. A lot of times it was semi-inappropriate. The first one I really clued into was Joe Rogan, who's now a household name, beyond household.
Yeah.
And but it wasn't even really what they were saying, and it really wasn't even the star factor of who he had on the shows at that point. It was the fact that you're getting to hear some insight into, you know, the how, the what, the why somebody thought a certain way about, and then anything was on the table. Anything
Yeah.
was fair game. So again, what does that all come down to? Authenticity. And where do you know, we find or where do I find that true leadership really begins? Authenticity and being transparent and being showing up with integrity. So it just really, it's interesting to see all of that come full circle. So it's totally appreciated that that you've been able to package that and really deliver that. And there's so much value in what you said about building your own community and then having a platform for it. So very much that resonates with me.
Yeah, the casual conversation, authentic type of podcasts have been an opportunity for people to feel like a fly on the wall, or like I remember I used to go to all of the Joe Rogan live streams on YouTube, and I was never like glued to the screen, like sitting there like absorbing every story, every knowledge. It's this medium where you can throw it up on a second monitor, and I just kind of feel like I'm hanging out there with them. Like, and
Yeah, that's a
that's
great
what
point.
those casual podcasts can do. And I think, yeah, plenty of them have pursued that route. Uh, and I'm discovering now, as time has gone on, the hyper produced podcasts are now actually becoming a thing. There's some I know that have been very popular in more of like the storytelling realm, but even individuals like us now have the ability to start leveling up in that's what I've been seeing the light on in recent years and months, is you can do a lot more with just a podcast than the plain conversations. So if that conversationalist like style isn't for you, there's dozens of other routes you can go. I've kind of landed in a middle route with my interviews, where there's a specific purpose and specific angle and specific goal for the listener, but we end up cracking open very deep, raw, authentic, real stories that we end up tapping into. So it's this nice little hybrid. And recently I've been discovering Quentin Ilums. He is starting a new podcast that's very short, condensed storytelling. He'll have a complete interview like this for an hour, however long, and he condenses the best moments into powerful clips, almost like B-roll,
Awesome.
kind of like 60 minutes investigator style. They
Right.
go through the story, and he goes in and out of the story or of the podcast as like a narrator, giving different contexts and explanations, backing tracks, like cinematic, like music. So there's lots of angles that just podcasts alone can be honestly such a game changer in different ways. It doesn't have to be casual conversation, but 100% can be. It's again back
Right.
to finding what works for you and your audience. That's all you got to find out what works. There will be 100 other people telling you to do this or telling you to do that, or other formats you could follow. But if you're not in sync with your audience and your own style, it's all pointless.
Right. And people do business. Let's talk about it from a business perspective for a second. You know, we're here to provide service, and people do business with people they like, know, and trust. And what a better way to, I mean, there's some brilliance behind that idea of the hyper focused, yet high level, and summarizing key points with some production value. I can definitely see that maybe for a little bit downstream for the Beast Note. I think, you know, you would be terrific with that. And yet, like you said, the type of conversations that some of the guests that you've had or you've hosted for, that you can really put up on the second screen and just feel like you're there and a part of it. There's
Yeah.
tremendous value in that too. So it's really interesting to see the entire gambit. Great to see 𝗕𝗓𝗄 here, Noel. There's a few others. I really appreciate you guys coming out. Travis, real quick,
Yeah.
you mentioned that the one place that you're active, and it's the same with me, LinkedIn. Tell me about the revelation that you've had this year with the LinkedIn community and your feelings on that.
Yeah, it was again not entirely planned or coordinated at all. My profiles technically existed on LinkedIn for a while, but all of last year or end of last year, end of 2019, just honestly got sick of Gary Vee telling me about organic reach on LinkedIn. So honestly, just to stop like the internal frustration, I started in January, just hopped in, wasn't even posting in January, was just commenting, engaging, kind of reading exactly what was wrong or what was going on with this, who was doing it right, who was doing it wrong. And I'm just absorbing all of January. So in February, I started posting, experimenting with different formats. And it was like the early stages of community, like, okay, this actually got a little bit going. And what really changed the game for LinkedIn specifically was discovering those PDF sliders. It's this document format on LinkedIn that people can slide through a carousel of posts, like a multiple image-based posts. And that was a complete revelation for me to discover, combining my personality with professional insights. Was completely experimental, was like, oh, these sliders look cool. And the first one I did, I just was going top of mind and was like, okay, how can I create content that's useful on LinkedIn? And wanted to create business lessons, business advice. But it was I didn't have anything to use as an anchor point. So I used hockey and it was my first slider. I actually had an article on it too of 5 business lessons learned from hockey. And I posted that slider, and suddenly so many people started coming out of the woodworks of, hey, I used to play hockey here. Even like old guys I did play hockey with, like as a kid, popped up on LinkedIn.
Awesome.
And then, yeah, people like you, Luke Matthews was another that just popped up, and it was like, yeah, man, I played hockey when, and it was this revelation of connecting your personality with your content. And I just doubled down from there with that formula and was like, all right, 5 lessons from World of Warcraft, 5 lessons from South Park, all of these like little personality based pieces of content that really just started pulling people out of LinkedIn, like deep,
Awesome.
in a deep way. So that was the most valuable thing I've discovered, was that really got the snowball going to kick off that core community. And the experimenting didn't stop there. That clearly worked. I actually got to start producing more of those again there. But was continuing to experiment with live events, Zoom events, and then eventually got access to LinkedIn Live, which was kind of the next game changer later in the year, because it was this moment of forced authenticity.
Right.
As we were talking about those hyper edited videos earlier, I don't do well in that environment at all. Yeah. And the stuff I do, even with my perfectionism, the final video I post, it isn't me. It's not the
Right.
human that you're seeing and connecting with right now. It's this guy I created for LinkedIn that I
Right.
think they want to see.
Right.
So live streaming, about halfway through the year, I was just forced in here, and over kind of kept getting continuous encouragement from brilliant people in the community, more and more every stream. And it's just kind of been evolving since then. So it's finding this way to blend your personal and professional life in an authentic fashion that I didn't think was possible. I always just kind of thought of LinkedIn as a job hunting resume, whatever. Like
Right.
whenever you apply, they go check out your LinkedIn to make sure you're not a serial killer or like a bum. And they're like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, he does something. He seems legit.
Yeah.
So there's got to be something, and people kind of call it like the Facebook dilemma or Facebook problem, but if you're able to bring value while being authentic and showing your personality, that's the secret sauce for sure. All of my best content, best connections, best conversations are always in the comments on those posts that have a little bit of personality in them.
Nice, nicely said. And I was having a conversation with 𝗕𝗓𝗓 a little while back. She's a gal who's just absolutely massive on the platform. She's pushing 600,000 connections, and she said exactly the same thing that you did. That the polished, edited videos were just not her style, and she's now just now starting to get into a little bit of those. But it's always been camera on, in front, and bringing, like you said, value, serving that audience. And, you know, going back to what you said, you found what worked for you. I didn't even realize that the sliders, which is something that I'll be getting into. Thanks for the recommendation. I've seen them. I enjoy them. And I said,
Yeah.
I just thought, yeah, it's a great point. And there's a lot of lessons that we could bring to the table from our backgrounds. But I didn't even realize, because of how much you've evolved in the last year, that was where you really started and got engaged.
No, it was everything. I tried the text posts for a while. I started doing the broetry, as they call it, with the super extended lines, and I can make 100 of those posts if I really need to. But was just testing the water, seeing what everybody else was doing or wasn't doing. And what I really saw was a lot of people were using those sliders or the PDF document format, but they were like uploading an ebook or like something that had like literally had like a table of contents.
Yeah.
And it was like great concept, poor execution. So that was where I stepped in and saw this opportunity. You'll see a lot of them now are very concise snippets. So you want large headlines, very quick. You want something people can just kind of click through and scan. They're not literally going to go through and read a PDF or a full ebook. Like maybe every once in a while, there's probably some engineers and data nerds out there that'll want the legit download. But as far as an effective use of that format, the goal is just to give people a tiny little experience to hop through for, if you're lucky, 30 to 60 to 90 seconds in that moment. So that was a game changer for me. Definitely got to bring those back to life pretty soon, just because it is an easy way to double dip. Personality and business tips is a simple formula to get people's attention and get some shares on LinkedIn while bringing people out of the woodworks. There's so many lurkers. Like there's four or five people watching here, and I know a few that have commented, but you never know who's actually watching and who is here until you post something like that. And I'll look at some people's history and like they haven't commented in months, but the first time they saw a music festival post, and they were like, oh my God, I haven't been to a music festival. I miss EDC. I haven't been here. Like, it's just somebody I know I'm going to connect with. You have an immediate resonation. And then there's a business bonus too. That's kind of this undertone you have to make sure is on lock. But in general, it's a pretty flawless formula from my experience, combining pieces of your personality with some type of insights. Oh, I see Peter hopped in. Oh, I'm always watching. My point exactly. People like Peter are always watching, seeing you on the feed, recognizing you, and it takes a moment like just now to call them out. And I'm going to go connect with Peter if we're not connected already.
He's close by. That's a Colorado Springs brother right there.
There it is. We are in. I already sent him the connection.
Nice.
So that's like a perfect example in real time of the type of people you can pull out with your content, or just waiting for the right moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And quick shout out to Peter, brilliant guy, also in the leadership space, and wonderful stories to tell. So him and I have been talking on Voxer quite a bit, and I owe Peter a phone call back. But great guy, and I'm so happy that you guys connected. And real quick on that in particular. So you're talking about people always, I know you've called out the lurkers before. Just always good fun, right? But that is really what this is all about in building a community. And then by having some fun and taking the edge off. And let's go. Look forward to connecting with you. Awesome, Peter. And making it, you have those opportunities to connect on a personal level. And somebody, we're all, people's time is really, really valuable right now. And people are always bombarded with all of these stimuli. So being able to be respectful of somebody's time and having a succinct, well thought out, but brief slider, like you put it before, maybe that's that little piece of attention that gets them to something that's a little bit more in depth with your content. And then really, absolutely, you get to serve those people and they already know, like, and trust you. It's a really an interesting formula that just kind of, manifests itself. And it's just really interesting. It all boils down to that original authenticity and who you're trying to serve and connect with. And then finding yourself. There's a really a lot longer conversation in all of this that will be fun to observe as this all takes shape.
No, being concise it's an absolute asset in this current state. I hope and plan and am coaching myself to be more concise in words and with spoken language. But in the context of social media, that becomes very powerful, both in copywriting, in design, any type of minimalism or focus towards concision will have extremely high ROI. A lot of people sort of think of this social media game or think of social media as kind of a game and like fun, like we're hanging out and connecting, and like under the surface of social media and digital media in general, it is an absolute war for attention. It's not like a battle or like a little jab or fight. It is a war for attention that companies are pouring millions of dollars, billions probably more accurately, at like the Google, Amazon, Facebook level,
Right.
to make sure people are not only staying on their platform, but the experience on that platform is maximized. That's why we're seeing 15-second video platforms like TikTok taking off, because the density of information you can condense into those videos has been getting tighter and tighter. So if you can focus your copywriting, your video production, your graphic design, any of that to focus more on being more concise, you will get extremely high ROI from that.
That's such an interesting point. And I would, again, that could be a whole show in and of itself, specialized show. Love to do that at a future date. So I'm going to throw out a word that's commonly associated with leadership because of our good friend 𝗕𝗘𝗔𝗦𝗧 and Leif Babin, but they call it the dichotomy of leadership. But the dichotomy that I observe right here is with getting attention and respecting people's time, yet delivering what we call, it's almost a platitude at this point, value. But that's what we're out here to do and serve. And then at the same time, on the leadership side, when I'm training new leaders or we are working with leaders in a company or myself leading a group, sometimes all of those underlying things that really take a long time is so opposite of what our society is today, where everything's like quick, single serve, get it out there, get it quick. It's almost like we have to be reprogrammed to understand why all those underlying things are so important to get to that succinct product. So again, that's probably another show, that topic in and of itself, but it's really an interesting difference between the two.
No, it is valid. And I think that it's most valuable at the top of the funnel, because there are moments when being just casual, authentic is better for that deeper connection. So what I'm really starting to see is at top of funnel is that concise, the posts that get a lot of reach, the sliders, the text posts, stuff like that is all top of funnel to even get somebody's attention in the first place, to get them to recognize your name, your face, anything. And if you're lucky, yeah, you get 3 to 5 to 10 seconds. Then once they start engaging there, now you can start having those kind of mid-value, mid-funnel mediums. That's what I would consider podcasts. Stuff like this is as another kind of mid-funnel show or setup that we can slice up. But now what I'm discovering, that's used to be where I thought it just kind of ended, was there and then convert to business. But now with live streaming, you can go now one more layer deeper. It's going to be less people, but there are people that hang out in our live streams for the full 4 hours. Like 4 hours is the max you can stream on LinkedIn right now. And we've had people they literally have broken the comment section because they're so deeply engaged and involved in the conversation that they've commented like hundreds of times that the LinkedIn's like was pausing them and blocking them from commenting anymore. And we made it kind of a badge of honor if you can make it into the VIP gang, if you got your comments blocked. But that's a different level of engagement that isn't in that top of funnel, like you've got 5 to 10 seconds to steal the show and get their attention. But the goal is to continuously be building that community and more of those people over and over. So the authenticity and the value, the further you get down the funnel, doesn't have to be there. Or the authenticity does, but it doesn't have to be as concise or perfected as on the front
end. Because you've already earned the trust at that point.
I believe so. Yeah, there's something there. I'm still trying to figure out how or why people watch and hang out for so long. It's fascinating to me. But I've done it too. On the other side, there are gamers and Twitch streamers that I've discovered the last couple of years, just keeping an eye on the streaming world. I don't even play the video game they play, and I don't even know them as an individual. And I end up watching them like on an entire Saturday. And then I see them like win a tournament and I'm like pumped. And then their girlfriend like orders food, and then the dog comes and is hanging out in the room. And it's just like this whole new world that live streaming opens up, that people are part of your world. And now I can remember that tournament when he mentions it in future streams and stuff like that. So it's very, very fascinating to me. I don't know exactly what the psychology of it is. I think it's just a need for human connection. Yeah. But it's doesn't always have to be this, what's my lead magnet or what's the business synthetic ROI or whatever on every piece of content. So wide spectrum, deep funnel. It's just all about keeping people moving and connecting with them in mindful ways.
I just had a major revelation. That's the wonderful thing about this live world that we live in. Yeah, Peter said desire for human connection. I think we all said it all through a digital medium. We all said it kind of at the same time. And so Jeffrey Combs interviewed him on our last live stream. He talked about in I don't know if it was in our conversation or in some of his other lives. Talked about the mastermind, kind of I'm paraphrasing, but like a hive mind, but it's really all comes down to connection, like you said.
Yeah.
And isn't it interesting? This is the revelation that I just had, because I have a 15-year-old son who's he's brilliant. He's very into like naturally it was a part of his life and upbringing. Now he's kind of plugged into being a part of those things where you go onto a live environment and you're interacting. That's their social interaction right now, because everything's locked down. And isn't it interesting that this year, where the world locked down, that the common denominator is that need for connection? Now, it used to be a handshake, maybe connecting, the quote unquote by the water cooler, or daily interactions, or
the
working on projects together.
That's a good example.
Yeah, now it's this. Or it's the, like you said, you don't even play those same games. And I'm not the video game expert by any means. That my nickname at the old holidays was Respawn, because I just die every time I'd come into a thing. And I'm looking up and going around. I'm like, how do you work this thing? And they're just people with points are going up. I think that dates the games that I tried to play. I think it was, what are those? Halos or whatever. But
Yep.
kids
Oh man,
today,
you're dating yourself now.
oh man, oh man. But so I gave up. But leave it to the kids. But isn't it interesting that this year we all come back to connection and community, and that is that common
It's
denominator?
fascinating because I've seen a little bit of it in the gaming world from me kind of growing up out of high school and into college. We would have Discord rooms, or just I would just have friends that I had in a specific game, that it was never like we never jumped in and were like, hey, how was your day? And then like sat and talked to each other. It was this moment that I discovered, like after work or after school classes at school, that you could just go in your room, close the door, throw on your headphones, and you could join a Discord channel of just 8 guys that would kind of hop in or out here and there. And that was your community, the water cooler kind of effect of, it wasn't like, hey, everybody, let's meet at 8 p.m. and chat and talk. It was just this casual thing that we would hop in the Discord channel, and then if somebody else was online, they'd come in and be like, yo, what are you playing? Hey, you want to play duos together? And then somebody would play duos for 2 hours, and then you go do your thing. It's just this natural community that was there. And I'm just now seeing people, like we're pulling people from LinkedIn into a Discord channel, and they're like just seeing the light on, like, oh my God, we can just hang out and chat and share messages and memes and all of that. And that's the piece of community building that a lot of people either misperceive or just completely miss it entirely. And they're like, well, I've got an email list and I message them twice a week with my offers and stuff. And you're like, that's technically, like, that's an audience, but that's not a community.
Right.
Like
that's trying to force it, the square peg in the round hole. And once you connect with people in that community, then it's brilliant. Mark Bentcover's calling me or us out. Sure, repeat everything Peter says and completely ignore me. I guess I'll only hang out for another 3 hours instead of 4. Mark has one of the wittiest sense of humors I've ever experienced. So make sure you guys are connected if you're not already. That last piece on the community that you brought up specifically in the online realm. Now I'm going to date myself a little bit. My son was born in 2005. I was still a collegiate athlete at the time. That summer I had 4 jobs. I was working incredible long hours, go from one to another. And I had since we brought it up, this is my first memory of an experience of people getting together online. So that my former boss back then, he was the owner of 𝗕𝗘𝗔𝗦𝗧 striping services. We would do runways and roadways and parking lots, put the lines down. And he was a part of a fighter squadron of actual former pilots and people that were good at that game. And it was all realistic. Like you could actually fly missions for like long aircraft, which to me sounded incredibly boring. We had good fun with that, or go into like actual tactical fighting. And I don't remember the game by any means, but he had the whole joystick and everything set up. He goes, I've actually got some old pilots. And he talked, and so the community that they were talking about, and he goes, I wasn't in the military, but I get to hear about all these things that they did, and we get together at these certain times and everything. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I mean, this was, barely, I think cell phone cameras had just come out. It was like, wow, you mean you guys are together, but you're, what do you say in that movie? Are we on the line? Are we on the line? Those guys that were getting the job for Google, I can't remember what it was called, but that was kind of the birth of all of that. And then look at what it's turned into today. But the connections that he made with those guys in that community that he got to feel a part of was something he probably never would have gotten before. And look at how that's all come full circle. The human connection in business now. I think there's just, I think we're on the precipice of an opportunity. Maybe this is the new industrial revolution, right? This is the digital revolution. We'll see.
100%. And it's going to be far more accelerated than anything we've ever seen, because everything else had physical limitations of engineering and manufacturing, agriculture. All those technology-based revolutions required physics to kind of slow them down. Like you can only build 100 cars a day or whatever the formula is. Digital, no way, baby. There's no limits, no stopping anything. Your life could change from now to overnight in minutes, seconds, hours. So that continuous evolution is amplified for how valuable it becomes.
Phenomenal. Well, we are right at an hour, my friend, and I am completely respectful of your time and always grateful to get it. I could go a full 4 hours, maybe another plug for our potential. The longest day of the year is summer solstice is 6/21, and we've been talking about doing a 24-hour live stream in the sunlight in Alaska in the summer. So if travel is opened up, maybe that's another thing we can plug. I've already talked to Shay about it, and we're still trying to plant those seeds. So that would be a lot of fun, even if it doesn't happen this year. 24 hours of straight streaming and 24 hours of sunlight in Alaska. What do you think?
We'll have to figure out. We're definitely trying to figure out some type of in-person anything. I think we're all like, please, let's just connect somehow, some way. So we'll keep everything on the menu. Game.
Well, thank you for coming out and hanging out. And really, I'm looking forward to actually even reviewing this from all of the things that we got to talk about. And there's just really some really great wisdom behind not only the psychology, the package that you provide, what you can show people, what you've done, and how you're bringing that all together. One more time for the team, for the community, would you run through a little high level what you do and where the people can connect with you? It's all yours.
Yeah, of course. No, my simplest version of this pitch is just message me, just DM me and connect. My ultimate goal is converting others' ideas into reality. Sometimes that's a podcast, sometimes that's a live stream, sometimes that's just basic plain Jane content marketing if that's what your business or your firm needs. But the equation is always going to be different. So I try to not go too deep on the front end. But if you do have any interest in growing your personal brand or your business with a media-based marketing strategy, typically around building your own show, sometimes an event makes more sense for your target audience, but that's the overarching pitch. But all of it starts with just connecting with you. So if that sounds even slightly interesting and something you'd like to level up, the door is always open. It doesn't have to be a sales call or anything like that. I just truly love this LinkedIn community and so many brilliant people on a positive trajectory. So anything I can do to accelerate or amplify or echo people doing awesome things, I'm in a happy spot. So connect with me on LinkedIn at minimum. DM me if you want to connect. Line's always open.
Love it, man. You're a first-class guy, class act. And then if people are watching this replay, maybe not on LinkedIn, maybe it's not for them. First of all, get on LinkedIn. But if not, where can they go to your website to see the Beast Node?
As of right now, it's just thebeastnode.com all the way through. That'll bring you to the podcast and all the media I have going. And then if you want to join the audience, the adventure, the community, beast.club is our little short domain to send people to. That'll just ask for your email real quick and you'll get hooked up with any future shows, live stream experiences. We've got web shows going next year in the pipeline. So join the party and we'll see what next year brings. But continuous evolution is the only official thing in the game plan at the moment.
Love it. And I will be coming to join you at Beast Club very soon. So from one beast to another, thanks for coming out, Mr. Travis Lachner, and we will see you real soon.
Thank you so much. Take care, guys.
Take care. Thanks, everybody. We're going to let Travis take off, and we'll wrap up. Trav, take care. Everybody, thanks for coming out. I know this was a little bit of a longer episode, but the absolute value that Travis provides and delivers, well, if you weren't here, listen to it. Absolutely first class. Thanks for coming out. As you guys know, I'm Ryan McMullen with Beast Leadership. I offer a free 20-minute coaching session for anyone looking to upgrade the quality of their lives, their leadership. Give me a call, reach out on LinkedIn. You can send a direct message. If not, beastleadership.com. is where you can connect with me and sign up for that free 20-minute coaching session. So everybody, thank you for coming out for episode 4, and we will see you real soon. Take care.